Hey everyone, welcome back to the Life After Work channel. My name is Solomon and we're going to have a demonstration today. A lot of people have been wanting to know about this mini media blaster that I bought from Pache. Several people have commented they've never heard of such a thing. Well, there are several out there. Matter of fact, I think I've seen already today about 5 by different companies, and they range everywhere from $25 to $75. They're not a very expensive thing. The little bit of the history on that, I'm gonna demonstrate it here shortly, and I'm gonna take some of that red paint off, maybe all of it, and I'm gonna take that black paint off, and we'll just see, because this is fairly heavy stuff right here, and it's factory sprayed. So we'll see if it takes that off. I did a little research and I found out that these little blasters have been around for a long time, a lot longer than I thought. I haven't been able to find out when they were originally made, but I do have some documentation that goes back to the 50s. Now, there was a company called Satfin Airbrush Company, that sold, and I'll put pictures of it up here, they sold air erasers, and they were called the ACEM Professional Air Eraser and Etching Kits. They were for dentists. Dentists used them to blast crowns, gold fillings and what have you, I guess before they were installed, to check for fissures or flaws or whatever. And that's why it was called, this company was called Satfin. It gave it a satin finish, and it's easier to see the cracks in the gold with a satin finish and a glossy gold finish. Now that pretty much is the extent of my knowledge of any dentistry whatsoever. I've been lucky. I've never had a problem. Now, the particular airbrush that I'm showing you here, this looks different than this, but actually all it is, and it says it in the brochures that came with it, I'll take this off. This is what it looked like, and it had a long tube here. It was meant to run off the air systems in a dental office. Now, for those of you who are fairly young, you won't remember this, but for us old guys, dentist's office used to have all their drills and equipment and everything run off of air. They had a little air turbine, and this ran off of that. So it just plugs straight into it. But according to the instructions that came with those that dentists bought, you could take this and put it on that same tool, take off the piece that hung under here, and hook it right up to a regular compressor air hose, just like I'm going to do with this. So it's interesting that Satfin came up with that, and I thought it was anyway, until I looked at another page of the data that came with that airbrush, and it said the AECM air eraser was made for the Satfin Airbrush Company by Pache. So Pache's been making these for, I don't know, maybe as long as I've been around, maybe 70 years, because they do go back quite a ways. So anyway, and it does state right here, when the M handle, this is the ACEM, is the one they were talking about for dentists. When the M handle is removed, you can use a standard airbrush airline just like any other airbrush. Now, doing some research, I found a site. I'm going to put the location down here. You guys need to go look at this. This is a guy using an air eraser to remove decals and paint from trains, train cars, all kinds of stuff. He's already gone through a lot of experimentation. Like I said the other day, I'll turn you around here again. I bought I bought two kind of compounds. This one I was going to use for etching some stuff for the future, and that's the aluminum oxide. This was the 2 pound version that was for that I was going to use to take paint off, and it's made up of pumice, volcanic pumice. He said very specifically on his write-up about his use of it, removing paint and decals and stuff from trains and models. On styrene, don't use anything except baking soda. Now that's a good thing. You can go over to the grocery store and anybody can get baking soda, and just as long as it takes them to get to the store and back. So I bought a box of it. I bought a couple of boxes. Now, there is a condition to all of these media. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever used a sandblaster. I've used them extensively. I used them in the Navy. And then, like I said in my last video, I had a blaster at home. I used to, as a hobby, build engines, big engines, you know, regular automobile engines. Guys at work would have trouble with their car. They'd bring it over, and if they'd thrown the valve stem broke or they got a crack in the head, we'd pull it out in my driveway, in my carport, take it apart, go to the junkyard, get replacement parts. Well, they all wanted them to look better when they were finished, and I didn't want to put an engine together that wasn't freshly painted. So I had it wasn't an air brush, it was just a regular small home sandblaster. Held, I don't know, I forget what it was, maybe 20 pounds of sand, and had a little gun, and of course I had my compressor that I hooked it up to, and I blasted all the time. Well, there are certain rules you have to follow if you want successful airbrushing. One is, hey man, keep your powder dry. I mean, that's just what it is. You have to keep your blasting material very dry. And it's recommended you not keep it in a warm place, but keep it in a cool place, a cool, dry place. So that's not too hard. I'll keep it in a lower cabinet down here in the dark, and that's usually cooler than anywhere else in the room. So that's basically one rule. Now, they do have some cautions on these professional compounds, and it basically says goggles are recommended, and it may be harmful by breathing this dust. So use a respirator, and of course the respirator needs to be, at least in America, it needs to be an IOSHA approved, and this is an IOSHA approved mask, and it states very specifically on the wrapper this is for particulate matter, only particulate. Well, in blasting, that's all you've got. You've just got particulate matter. So I got this. I'm not going to wear it for the baking soda. I'm going to use just a regular simple one of the cloth ones. It's not a NIOSH, it's just basically to stop you from getting dust in your lungs. So I'm going to wear that. Everything I've read and heard about blasting with baking soda is that it's safe. Just have to use a few precautions. Do wear goggles. Anything like this can get in your eyes and it's a problem. So I'm going to set up in a little while. I'm not going to do it right this minute. I'm waiting for the wind to die down. We've had a couple of days, 3 days maybe, of rain, several times a day. Everything's been wet. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer, let the sun be out a little bit longer, let the temperature go up a little bit. It's still going to be cool today. We're going into the 70-degree Fahrenheit range here shortly for a week, and we don't know after that. Here in East Tennessee, we could have snow 2 weeks from now. So anyway, we'll do that demonstration in just a couple of hours. I'm not going to do it in the garage. I was going to get a plastic bin, just a small one, not a real big one, and line it with damp paper towels, and I could just hold the car up, hit it with this blaster. That baking soda would hit those damp towels. It's not going to go anywhere, and it's real easy cleanup. So I was going to do that, but now I think I'm just going to step outside the garage. I'm going to run my air hose out, close the door down, and let the baking soda go down the driveway. So we'll see how that works out. So that's going to be the big thing, is to strip this and see what it does to the plastic. Now, this one, I don't worry too much about this one because this is very heavy gauge. I mean, this is thick plastic. And I've got another one that I can use if this is damaged. I may purposely try to damage it. I may purposely up the pressure. I'm gonna try several different pressures and see what happens. So anyway, see you back in a couple of hours, and we're gonna do some mini blasting. See you then. Bye. Okay guys, had a major malfunction. I don't know what happened. I think my battery died. I lost all the video of the actual blasting. And I brought everything back in and don't really want to set it back up again. So I'll just go back and show you some of the results. First of all, the back head, the paint's still there. It's been dulled. There was some impact, but it wasn't really removed, and it's not been cleared up or cleaned up. So that was a fail. The Mustang, lots of paint still on it. It's dull. There are marks where you could tell the blaster went over it. I couldn't get the pressure out of my small compressor that I thought I needed, which was 30 pounds. I got 30 pounds, but it just didn't seem to be driving the media. So I've got all kind of lines in this, in the paint, and it's messed up the paint. No question about it. It has cleaned off some of the paint, but I call this a fail as well. So what am I going to do? Well, I don't think it's the little media blaster. I don't think it's this. The media blew out of this. It all blew out. I had it adjusted. I adjusted it several times just to see the difference because I was playing with it. And I'm convinced that the media was coming out at the right rate. Switched to the pumice. And even though I went to the pumice, it still didn't do much. So I don't know exactly what the problem was. And I'm pretty sure the bulk of the problem was me not knowing quite what to do. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this as a fail, and I'm going to keep working on it, see if I can't figure out what's happening, because it should work. It really should. I can't imagine why it doesn't. Anyway, go check that link out that I'm going to put down here to someone who has used it successfully, and I'll just keep playing with it, but I wouldn't rush out and buy one right away. Anyway, sorry to take up your time. Took up a lot of my time, but you know, if you don't try, you're not going to gain. So there we go. There's a fail for the Life After Work channel. Thanks for tuning in, and more to come on the Media Blaster from Pache. Bye.